The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It happened without warning, causing panic across the world. Television signals were interrupted, and a simple message appeared on screens everywhere. "We come to meet you." June sat in a small room at the Korean Space Agency, watching the events unfold with a mix of fear and wonder. Just yesterday, he had been training for a mission to the International Space Station. Today, he was being told he would meet actual aliens. "Why me?" June asked his superior, Commander Dae-ho. Dae-ho, a tall man with deep wrinkles around his eyes, placed a hand on June's shoulder. "Because you understand people, June. You know how to talk to anyone and make them feel at ease. If these aliens are anything like us, we need someone who can build trust." June wasn't sure if aliens would be anything like humans, but he had no time to argue. Within hours, he was on a transport plane heading to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where Earth's first official contact would take place. The world's leaders had decided quickly that humanity needed to present a united front. Military forces around the globe were on high alert, but the aliens had made no aggressive moves. Their ship simply waited, a gleaming silver oval that reflected sunlight down to Earth like a new moon. At the UN building, June met the small team chosen to represent humanity. There were 5 of them: a diplomat from Brazil, a scientist from India, a linguist from Kenya, a historian from France, and June himself, the cultural liaison from South Korea. "We know nothing about them," said Meena, the Indian scientist, as they prepared in a conference room. "Their technology must be centuries beyond ours to travel between stars." "That's what worries me," replied the Brazilian diplomat, whose name was Paulo. "Advanced technology often comes with advanced weapons." June listened quietly. He had been chosen not for his scientific knowledge or diplomatic experience, but for something Commander Dae-ho called his human touch. June had spent years working with international teams on space missions. He knew how to bridge cultural gaps. "Maybe they're just curious," June suggested, "like we would be if we found life on another planet." The others looked at him with varying expressions of doubt. When the time came, they were taken to the General Assembly Hall. The room was empty except for their small team and a dozen security personnel. A large screen had been set up at the front of the room, connected to a communication system the aliens had provided. The screen flickered to life, and June saw his first alien. It wasn't what anyone expected. The being looked almost like a tall, thin human with pale blue skin. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face with features in roughly the same places as a human face. But there were differences too. Its eyes were larger, its fingers longer, and its movements somehow too smooth, as if it flowed rather than walked. "I am Tech, representative of the Galactic Alliance," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been observing your world for some time." For the next 2 hours, Tech explained that Earth had been discovered by Alliance explorers 50 years ago. The Alliance consisted of 7 major species who had formed a cooperative union for trade, knowledge, sharing, and mutual protection. Earth was being contacted now, because humans had reached a technological level where they would soon discover evidence of alien civilizations. "It is our policy to introduce ourselves before accidental discovery causes panic," Tech explained. The human representatives asked questions about the Alliance, its technology, and its intentions toward Earth. Tech answered patiently, explaining that the Alliance offered friendship and knowledge sharing, but also had strict rules about which technologies could be shared with developing worlds. Throughout the conversation, June noticed something strange. Tech seemed most interested in human social behaviors, asking questions about how nations cooperated, how conflicts were resolved, and how humans made collective decisions. When it was June's turn to speak, he decided to be direct. "You seem very interested in how we interact with each other," June said. "Why is that important to you?" Tech was silent for a moment before answering. "Humans are unusual. Most intelligent species evolve from pack predators or hive insects. Their social structures are simple and based on clear hierarchies or collective minds. Humans evolved from social primates with complex family structures. Your social systems are chaotic, unpredictable, and fascinating. After the initial meeting, the human team was informed that a delegation from the Alliance would arrive in 3 days to begin formal diplomatic relations. Before the screen went dark, Tech looked directly at June. "You will be our main point of contact, June Kim. Your psychological profile suggests you will understand us better than most humans." When the alien disappeared from the screen, the room erupted in discussion, but June remained quiet. He wondered what it meant that aliens had been studying his psychological profile. Back at the hotel that night, June received a secure call from Commander Dae-ho. "How did it go?" Dae-ho asked. "They seem peaceful," June replied. "But they've been watching us for decades. They know more about us than we know about them." "That puts us at a disadvantage," Dae-ho said with a frown. "What do they want from us?" "They say they want to welcome us into their alliance," June said. "But I think they're curious about us. Something about how we organize ourselves interests them." "Be careful, June," Dae-ho warned. "In nature, curiosity often leads to dissection." 3 days later, a smaller alien ship landed in a field outside New York City. A delegation of aliens emerged, not just Tech's species, but representatives from all 7 Alliance races. They varied in shape and size. Some were tall and thin like Tech, others were short and stocky, and one species appeared to float above the ground. As Earth's representatives approached the landing site, June walked at the front. He had been chosen as humanity's face for this historic moment. His heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his expression calm and friendly. When he reached the aliens, Tech stepped forward. "On behalf of the Galactic Alliance, we greet Earth and invite you to join us in friendship," Tech said, extending a 4-fingered hand. June reached out and shook it, feeling the strange, cool skin against his own. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you and look forward to learning from each other," June replied. As cameras flashed and the world watched, neither June nor any human could have guessed how profound the Alliance's interest in humanity truly was, or how much the aliens would come to fear the power humans wielded without even trying. What none of them realized was that being human would prove more powerful than any weapon Earth could have developed. 3 years had passed since the aliens first arrived on Earth. The world had changed in ways nobody could have imagined. Giant silver towers now stood in major cities, housing Alliance representatives and their advanced technology. Humans were learning about the stars, other worlds, and the millions of alien species that filled the galaxy. June had married Hana, a brilliant diplomat he met during the early days of alien contact. Together, they had become Earth's lead negotiators with the Galactic Alliance. They lived in a small apartment near the Alliance Embassy in Seoul, spending their days bridging the gap between human and alien understanding. On a rainy morning, June woke to the sound of his communication device buzzing. The screen showed a message from Supreme Commander Vex, the military leader of the Alliance. "Emergency Council meeting. 1 hour." June nudged Hana awake and showed her the message. "That doesn't sound good," she said, her eyes still heavy with sleep. They dressed quickly and took a transport to the Alliance Tower. Inside, they were led to a large round room where representatives from all 7 major Alliance species waited around a table. The mood was tense. No one was speaking. Supreme Commander Vex stood at the head of the table. Unlike Tech, who was tall and thin with blue skin, Vex belonged to a species that looked more like armored reptiles. His scaled skin was dark green, and his eyes were narrow yellow slits that seemed to miss nothing. "Humans," Vex said when June and Hana entered. "Sit." They took the 2 empty seats at the table. Hana reached for June's hand under the table and squeezed it gently. "The Voidborn have attacked 3 Alliance worlds in the past month," Vex announced without preamble. A hologram appeared above the table, showing ships of a design June had never seen before. They were black, with shapes that seemed to shift and change, as if they weren't completely solid. "The Voidborn are a species from beyond the galactic edge," Vex continued. "They appeared 50 years ago and have been slowly expanding their territory. Until now, they have avoided direct conflict with the Alliance." "What changed?" Hana asked. Vex turned his yellow eyes toward her. "They have new technology, new tactics, They are adapting faster than we can respond. June felt a chill run down his spine. In 3 years of working with the Alliance, he had learned that adaptability was not their strength. The 7 species had been stable for thousands of years, their societies changing very little over time. It was one reason they found humans so fascinating. "What does this have to do with Earth?" June asked. "The Alliance needs soldiers," Vex said bluntly. "Every member world must contribute to the defense of all. Earth has received Alliance protection and technology for 3 years. Now it is time for humans to fulfill their part of the agreement." Hana leaned forward. "Earth has no official agreement to provide military support. We are still in the observation period before full membership." "That period is over," Vex said. "The situation has changed." One of the other aliens, a floating creature named Rill, who represented the diplomatic branch of the Alliance, spoke up. "What Commander Vex means is that we would like to propose accelerating Earth's membership process. With full membership comes both benefits and responsibilities." June didn't miss the tension between Vex and Rill. The military and diplomatic branches of the Alliance often disagreed on approach. "How many soldiers are you asking for?" June asked. 10,000 to start," Vex replied. "To be deployed within 30 days. "That's impossible," Hana said. "Earth's nations would never agree to send troops without proper training on Alliance technology and tactics." "We will provide the training," Vex said. "Our simulations suggest humans will learn quickly." Something about the way Vex said simulations made June uncomfortable. He had visited Alliance ships and seen their advanced virtual reality technology. Had they been running simulations with human subjects without Earth's knowledge? "We need to consult with Earth's United Defense Council," June said carefully. "This decision cannot be made by just the 2 of us." "You have 7 days," Vex said. "After that, the Alliance will reconsider Earth's protected status." The threat was clear. Join the fight or lose Alliance protection. After the meeting, June and Hana returned to their apartment to make urgent calls to government leaders around the world. Within hours, an emergency session of the United Defense Council was scheduled. "They're using the Voidborn as leverage," Hana said, as they prepared for the council meeting. "But why push so hard for human soldiers? The Alliance has billions of citizens across hundreds of worlds." June remembered something Tech had told him years ago, during one of their many conversations about human nature. "Tech once said that humans approach problems differently than Alliance species," June said. "We see patterns they miss. We try solutions they would never consider." "You think they want us for our minds, not our bodies," Hana said, understanding dawning on her face. "I think Commander Vex is scared," June replied. "Not just of the Voidborn, but of losing control." The United Defense Council met in a secure underground facility in Geneva. Leaders from 20 nations sat around a large table, with screens showing the faces of other world leaders who couldn't attend in person. General Park, the head of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Force, presented the Alliance's demand. 10,000 troops in 30 days, she said. With the threat of removing their protection if we refuse, the room erupted in angry voices. Some leaders called it blackmail. Others pointed out that Earth still depended on Alliance technology and protection. When the noise died down, Hana stood to speak. "I believe there's more to this request than the Alliance is telling us," she said. "In 3 years of contact, they have studied us constantly. They find our unpredictability both fascinating and frightening. I think Commander Vex wants human soldiers because we approach warfare differently than Alliance species." "Are you suggesting they're using us as guinea pigs?" asked the Chinese premier. "I'm suggesting," Hana said carefully, "that we negotiate for observer status first. Send a small team of military analysts to study the conflict before committing troops." June watched with pride as Hana laid out her plan. By sending observers instead of soldiers, Earth could gain valuable intelligence while avoiding the risk of a large deployment. After hours of debate, the Council voted to accept Hana's proposal. Earth would send 50 military observers to Alliance command centers, with the promise to consider further support after receiving their reports. When June and Hana presented this counteroffer to the Alliance Council, Vex was furious. "This is not a negotiation," he growled. "It is a requirement of your relationship with the Alliance." "Actually," Rill the diplomat interrupted, floating gently above the table, "the humans' proposal has merit. Observer teams could provide valuable insight while their world prepares a proper military response." The other council members nodded in agreement. Vex found himself outvoted. "Very well," he said, his scaled face rigid with anger. "Send your observers. But they will see the true face of the Voidborn threat. And when they do, Earth will understand why we need soldiers, not watchers." As they left the council chamber, June couldn't shake the feeling that they had just avoided one trap, only to walk into another. Whatever Vex wanted from Earth, he was determined to get it. "We need to warn the observer team," June told Hana quietly. "I think Vex plans to show them something that will frighten Earth into full military commitment. Then we need to make sure we send people who don't frighten easily," Hana replied with a small smile. "People who see beyond the obvious." What neither of them realized was that the observer mission would change the course of the war in ways no one, human or alien, could possibly predict. Colonel Jiwoo adjusted his new Alliance uniform as the transport ship approached the military station. Through the viewing window, he could see the massive structure floating in space. It looked like a giant metal wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. Alliance ships of various sizes moved around it like busy insects. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Tae, the systems engineer sitting beside him. She had been staring at the station with wide eyes since it came into view. "It's big," Jiwoo agreed, "but size doesn't win wars." Jiwoo led Earth's observer team of 50 military experts. They had been chosen carefully for both their professional skills and their ability to think creatively. Jiwoo himself had a background in tactical analysis and anthropology, an unusual combination that helped him understand how different cultures approached warfare. Tae was one of his key team members, a brilliant engineer who could understand almost any technology after studying it briefly. The other was Su, a cultural specialist who sat quietly on Jiwoo's other side, watching the Alliance soldiers on the transport. "They move differently than us," Su noted in a low voice. "Very efficient but very predictable. Watch how they check systems in exactly the same order every time." Jiwoo had noticed it too. In the 2 weeks since leaving Earth, he had observed the Alliance military personnel closely. They were incredibly disciplined and followed procedures perfectly, perhaps too perfectly. The transport docked at the station, and the human team was greeted by an Alliance officer named Kraz. He was from the same reptilian species as Commander Vex, with scales and yellow eyes, but his manner was less aggressive. "Welcome to Forward Station 9, Kraz said. "You will be briefed on the Voidborn threat in 1 hour. Until then, my staff will show you to your quarters." The human observers were split into smaller groups and led through the station. Jiwoo, Tae, and Su stayed together, following a blue-skinned officer similar to the species Tech belonged to. Their quarters were small but comfortable. As soon as they were alone, Jiwoo activated a small device June had given him before they left Earth. It created a field that blocked any listening devices. "First impressions?" Jiwoo asked his companions. "Their technology is amazing but used very conservatively," Tae said immediately. "I've been watching their engineers. They only use systems exactly as designed, never adapting or modifying them." "The different species don't mix much," Su added. "They work together but stay with their own kind during breaks. There's cooperation, but not true integration." Jiwoo nodded. "Keep observing. Remember why we're here. Earth needs to know what we're potentially getting into before sending more people." The briefing took place in a large room with rows of seats facing a central platform. The human team sat together while Alliance officers from various species filled the other seats. Supreme Commander Vex himself appeared on the platform. He looked at the humans with his yellow eyes before beginning. "The Voidborn emerged from uncharted space 50 years ago," Vex said as images appeared in the air above him. "They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply take." The images showed black ships attacking planets, strange dark creatures fighting Alliance soldiers, and worlds left barren after Voidborn occupation. "They adapt quickly to our Weapons and tactics, Vex continued. Each time we develop a new strategy, they counter it within days. Jiwoo listened carefully, noting what was said and what wasn't. The briefing gave technical details about void-born ships and weapons, but very little about their motivation or organization. After the briefing, the human observers were split into teams and assigned to different parts of the station to begin their work. Jiwoo's team was to observe tactical planning sessions. Other teams would study alliance weapons, ships, and battle reports. For the next 2 weeks, Jiwoo and his team watched and learned. They attended planning meetings, studied battle recordings, and spoke with alliance officers. Slowly, a picture emerged that concerned Jiwoo deeply. They fight like they're following a textbook, he told Tae and Sue during one of their private meetings. Every battle plan is perfectly logical but completely predictable. Their technology has the same problem, Tae added. Powerful, but inflexible. They never use weapons in ways they weren't specifically designed for. And their species don't share ideas well, Sue said. Each one approaches problems from their own cultural perspective and rarely adopts methods from others. Their observations were interrupted by a station-wide alarm. Red lights flashed in the corridors as an announcement came over the speakers. All personnel to battle stations. Void-born attack in Sector 7. This is not a drill. Jiwoo and his team rushed to the command center where they had observer status. The room was filled with Alliance officers moving quickly to their positions. On a large screen, they could see Alliance ships forming a defensive pattern against approaching Void-born vessels. Standard Formation Delta, an Alliance commander ordered. Target the lead ships first. Jiwoo watched as the battle unfolded. The Alliance ships moved in perfect coordination, forming textbook defensive patterns. But the Void-born ships didn't attack as expected. Instead of engaging the strongest Alliance defenses, they split into small groups and attacked from multiple angles. "They're breaking through Sector 4, someone shouted. "Outpost 7 is unprotected." Jiwoo looked at the tactical display and saw something the Alliance officers had missed. The Void-born weren't just attacking randomly. They were creating a pattern that forced the Alliance ships to respond in a specific way. "They're hurting them," Jiwoo muttered. "What did you say, human?" asked a nearby Alliance officer. "The Void-born know your standard responses," Jiwoo explained, pointing at the display. "They're not trying to win this battle. They're pulling your ships away from the outpost. That's their real target." The officer looked skeptical, but relayed Jiwoo's observation to the commander. By then, it was too late. The Void-born broke through and attacked the outpost, a small station that monitored a crucial wormhole. "Outpost 7 is under heavy attack," reported a communications officer. "They request immediate assistance." "No ships available," replied the commander. "All forces are engaged." Jiwoo looked at Tai and Sue. Without speaking, they all had the same thought. The outpost was being sacrificed because the Alliance couldn't adapt its strategy quickly enough. "We need to help them," Jiwoo said. "How?" asked the Alliance officer. "No ships can reach them in time." "There's a maintenance vessel in Bay 12, Tae said quickly. "It's small and has no weapons, but it could reach the outpost." "What good would that do?" the officer asked. "We have an idea," Jiwoo said. Against the Alliance commander's objections, Jiwoo and his team took the maintenance vessel. Tae piloted while Sue studied the outpost specifications. Jiwoo communicated with the trapped Alliance personnel on the outpost. "We're coming to help," he told them. "But we need you to gather these materials." He listed common items found on any space station. The confused Alliance officer on the outpost didn't understand but agreed to have everything ready. When they reached the outpost, Void-born ships were already cutting through its outer defenses. The maintenance vessel was so small and had such a weak energy signature that the Void-born ignored it, focusing on the larger prize. Inside the outpost, Jiwoo quickly organized the Alliance personnel. Under Tae's direction, they modified the station's power systems in ways the Alliance would never have considered. Sue helped coordinate the different species, getting them to work together in new ways. "This isn't in any manual," complained one Alliance officer. "That's the point," Jiwoo replied. "The Void-born know all your manuals too. When the Voidborn broke through the final door, they found a trap waiting for them. The modified power systems created an energy pulse that disrupted their technology. The mixed species defenders, fighting with improvised tactics, drove them back. By the time Alliance reinforcements arrived, the outpost had defended itself. The Voidborn had retreated, confused by the unexpected resistance. Admiral Kraz arrived with the reinforcements and stared at the human team in disbelief. "How did you do this?" he asked. "Our best tactical projections showed this outpost was lost." "We didn't follow your projections," Jiwoo said simply. "We improvised." News of the successful defense spread quickly through Alliance ranks. Within days, other human observers found themselves being approached by Alliance officers asking for advice. Commander Vex watched these developments with growing concern. The humans weren't just observing the war, they were changing it. 6 months after the observer mission began, the war against the Voidborn had changed in surprising ways. What started as 50 human observers had grown to over 300 human advisors spread throughout Alliance forces. They didn't command ships or led troops, but their influence reached everywhere. Tay sat in what Alliance engineers called a modification bay, though before her arrival, very little modification had actually happened there. Around her, a mix of human and alien engineers worked on Alliance weapons and equipment, testing new ideas that would have been unthinkable months ago. "Try connecting the power source directly to the field generator," Tay suggested to a team working on shield technology. "Bypass the safety regulators." The alien engineers looked nervous. "The regulators are there to prevent overload," one of them said. "Yes, but they also limit power flow," Tay explained. "If we add this circuit here to monitor output instead, we can get more power without risk." This was how Tay had been spending her days. Not by creating new technology, but by showing the Alliance how to use their existing tools in new ways. The aliens had advanced technology but used it exactly as it was designed, never pushing boundaries or finding creative applications. Across the station in a large training room, Sue watched as soldiers from 3 different Alliance species practiced new combat tactics. Before humans arrived, each species trained separately, using methods developed specifically for their biology and cultural approach to warfare. "Remember, unpredictability is your advantage," Sue called out as the mixed teams ran through drills. "The Voidborn expect you to follow your traditional patterns. Breaking those patterns confuses them." It had taken weeks to convince Alliance commanders to try mixed species units. Each species had strengths the others lacked. By working together and borrowing techniques from each other, they became far more effective than when fighting separately. In the station's tactical center, Jiwoo studied reports from recent battles against the Voidborn. Alliance forces had won 3 significant engagements in the past month, more success than they had seen in the previous year. Admiral Kraz, who had become Jiwoo's friend and supporter, joined him at the display table. "The Voidborn are retreating in 2 sectors, Kraz said, his scaled face showing what Jiwoo had learned with satisfaction. "Your human approaches are working." "It's not just our approaches," Jiwoo said modestly. "It's that your people are learning to think differently, to question standard procedures and try new things. Not everyone appreciates these changes," Kraz warned, lowering his voice. "Supreme Commander Vex sees this as a disruption of proper military order." Jiwoo nodded. He was well aware that their success had created political problems. As human influence spread through Alliance forces, traditional power structures were being challenged. Officers who embraced human ideas were gaining respect and authority, while those who resisted change were being sidelined. Back on Earth, Hana received the latest reports from the observer mission with mixed feelings. The success against the Voidborn was good news, but she worried about the growing tension within the Alliance leadership. She brought the reports to a meeting with Earth's Defense Council, where June was already waiting. The room was filled with military and political leaders from around the world, all eager to hear about the progress of the war. "The observer mission has exceeded all expectations," Hana told the council. "Alliance forces are adopting human approaches to warfare and technology with impressive results." "Then we should send more advisors," suggested one of the generals. "Perhaps even combat troops now that we better understand the situation." Hana exchanged a look with June before responding. I'm not sure that would be wise. I've received concerning intelligence about Supreme Commander Vex. She activated a display showing classified Alliance communications that June had obtained through his contacts. Vex has been deliberately limiting resources to sectors where human advisors are most influential, Hana explained. He's using the war to test human capabilities while containing our influence. Why would he do that? Asked the president of the African Union. If human methods are helping win the war. Because he fears what comes after, June said quietly. The Alliance has existed for thousands of years with very little change. Humans are bringing rapid change that threatens traditional power structures. We're not just changing how they fight, Hana added. We're changing how they think. The Council discussed the situation at length before deciding on a careful approach. Earth would continue supporting the observer mission, but would not yet commit combat troops. Instead, they would focus on strengthening diplomatic ties with Alliance members who were more open to human influence. In deep space, near the border of Voidborn territory, a critical battle was unfolding. A key wormhole that connected multiple Alliance systems was under attack by the largest Voidborn fleet seen yet. Jiwoo had been asked to join the command staff on the Alliance flagship as an advisor. The ship was massive, nearly the size of a small moon, with thousands of crew members from various Alliance species. The fleet commander, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Laris, welcomed Jiwoo to the bridge. Laris had been one of the first high-ranking officers to embrace human tactical ideas. The Voidborn have committed nearly a third of their forces to this attack, Laris explained, showing Jiwoo the tactical display. They must want this wormhole badly. Jiwoo studied the display, noting the positioning of both Alliance and Voidborn ships. Or they want us to think that's what they want. Together, Jiwoo and Laris developed a battle plan that incorporated both traditional Alliance strengths and new human-inspired tactics. Instead of forming a standard defensive line, the Alliance ships spread out in small, flexible groups that could quickly respond to changing situations. The battle lasted for 3 days. The Voidborn attacked in waves using tactics that would have overwhelmed traditional Alliance defenses. But the new approach allowed Alliance ships to adapt quickly, countering each Voidborn strategy with unexpected responses. When it was over, the Alliance had secured its first major victory. The wormhole was safe, and the Voidborn had lost a significant portion of their fleet. News of the victory spread quickly across Alliance worlds. For a species that had known little but retreat and defeat against the Voidborn, this success brought hope and celebration. And everyone knew that human advisors had played a key role. On the Central Alliance world, Supreme Commander Vex sat in a darkened room with his most trusted officers. The mood was somber despite the recent victory. The humans are changing everything, Vex said, his voice low and tense. Not just our military tactics, but our entire approach to problem solving. Is that not a good thing? Asked one of the officers, cautiously. We are winning now. Winning battles, yes, Vex acknowledged, but losing control. Alliance species have followed the same patterns for thousands of years. Our stability comes from predictability and order. He activated a display showing the spread of human influence throughout Alliance territory. It wasn't just military matters anymore. Human ideas about leadership, cooperation, and innovation were spreading to civilian sectors as well. They're weaponizing their perspective, Vex told his inner council. And no species in the galaxy has immunity. On Earth, Hana received an urgent message from one of her intelligence sources. She read it twice before taking it to June. The Voidborn have requested direct communication with human representatives, she said, still shocked by the news. They want to talk to us, not the Alliance leadership. Why would they do that? June asked. They believe we're the real power behind the Alliance now, Hana said. And they may be right, though not in the way they think. What had started as a simple observer mission had evolved into something neither humans nor aliens had anticipated. Without commanding a single ship or firing a single shot in official capacity, humans were reshaping the course of an interstellar war. Not through superior technology or military might, but simply by being human, adaptable, creative, and willing to challenge established ways of thinking, and Commander Vex was right to be worried. This was only the beginning. The room was silent as the Voidborn representative appeared on the large screen. Unlike the Alliance species, which mostly resembled Earth creatures in some way, the Voidborn was truly alien. Its body seemed to shift and flow like dark smoke, given partial form, with points of light that might have been eyes scattered across its surface. Hana stood before the screen, her heart racing, but her face calm. Beside her stood June, along with representatives from Earth's major nations. They had agreed to meet the Voidborn request for direct communication, despite strong objections from Supreme Commander Vex. "We speak to humans," said the Voidborn, in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You changed the way of war. We wish to understand." This was not what anyone had expected. The Alliance had described the Voidborn as mindless destroyers who never communicated. Yet here they were, initiating diplomatic contact. "We are willing to listen and share our perspective," Hana replied carefully. "Why have you attacked Alliance worlds?" The Voidborn's form rippled, which might have been their version of emotion. "Alliance contained us, limited our growth, called us threat before we acted." Slowly, through careful questions, Hana and June learned the Voidborn side of the story. They were a young species who had emerged into space only a century ago. The Alliance, seeing their rapid growth and unusual technology, had established containment zones to limit their expansion. When the Voidborn pushed against these limits, the Alliance had attacked first. Not destroyers, the Voidborn insisted, survivors. After the meeting, Hana brought this troubling information to the Alliance Council. Many representatives refused to believe it, but Real, the diplomatic representative, confirmed parts of the Voidborn account. There was a containment policy, Real admitted. Standard procedure for potentially disruptive new species. The same kind of policy you almost applied to humans, June noted. The room grew uncomfortable. Over the following weeks, Hana organized a series of meetings between human diplomats, Alliance representatives, and Voidborn delegates. Progress was slow and filled with suspicion on all sides, but gradually, a new understanding began to emerge. Meanwhile, the influence of human ideas continued to spread throughout Alliance space. It wasn't just in military matters anymore. Alliance merchants began adopting human business practices. Scientists started using human research methods that encouraged questioning established theories. Even in art and culture, human creativity was making an impact. On a central Alliance world, Tay found herself invited to speak at a prestigious technology institute. When she arrived, she was surprised to find a mixed audience of students from all 7 Alliance species. "Before humans arrived, we rarely shared knowledge between species," explained the institute director. Each species kept to its own areas of expertise. Tay's talk about creative problem-solving and cross-disciplinary approaches received enthusiastic response. Young Alliance members were particularly receptive to human ideas, seeing possibilities their elders had never considered. Sue's work had also expanded beyond military training. She now led cultural exchange programs between Alliance species who had lived side by side for thousands of years, without truly understanding each other. "We were united but not integrated," an Alliance cultural leader told her. "Humans showed us how much stronger we could be by sharing our unique perspectives." Jiwoo had become a respected advisor to the Alliance Military Council, working directly with fleet commanders to develop new approaches to security that didn't depend on containment and force. His background in anthropology proved as valuable as his tactical knowledge. Not everyone welcomed these changes. Supreme Commander Vex watched with growing alarm as human influence undermined traditional power structures. When peace talks with the Voidborn began showing progress, he decided to act. In a bold move, Vex ordered loyal ships to key positions throughout Alliance space. He declared a military emergency and attempted to seize control of the government, claiming the civilian leadership had been compromised by human influence. "The Alliance has stood for 10,000 years on principles of order and stability," Vex announced in a galaxy-wide broadcast. "Human chaos threatens everything we have built." But Vex had misjudged how deeply human ideas had already spread. When he ordered alliance ships to take control of major worlds, many captains refused. Soldiers stood down rather than enforce his orders. The coup failed not through violence but through massive non-compliance. Another human concept, Real explained to the council as they discussed what to do with Vex after his failed coup. Civil disobedience, the idea that people can resist power simply by refusing to follow unjust orders. 1 year after the Observer, mission began. Representatives from Earth, the Alliance, and the Voidborn signed a historic peace treaty. The agreement recognized the right of all species to expand and develop without interference, while establishing communication channels to resolve conflicts peacefully. As part of the agreement, the Alliance itself began to transform. The rigid hierarchy that had governed for millennia gave way to more flexible and representative structures. Member species gained greater autonomy while maintaining cooperation. Earth formally joined the newly named Galactic Cooperative as an equal member. Human advisors continued to work throughout former Alliance space, helping with the transition to new ways of thinking and governing. In the orbital diplomatic station above Earth, June and Hana met with the former Supreme Commander Vex. After his failed coup, he had been removed from power but not punished. Instead, he had been appointed as a cultural observer to Earth, a position that many saw as both a demotion and an opportunity for understanding. "You have conquered the Alliance, without firing a shot," Vex said bitterly as they showed him to his new quarters. "Your species spread through our civilization like a virus." June smiled gently. "That's where you're wrong. We didn't conquer anything. We just showed everyone a different way to see the universe. Your people chose to adopt it. And that," Hana added, "is why humans are the only species that can win a war without even trying. We don't need to fight when we can inspire." Vex looked out the window at Earth spinning below them, still struggling to understand how everything had changed so quickly. "Your kind has no true understanding of your own power," he said quietly. "You reshape worlds with ideas alone." Jiwoo, Tae, and Su eventually returned to Earth as heroes, though they had never fought in battle. Their weapons had been creativity, adaptability, and understanding. They had shown the galaxy that there were many kinds of strength beyond military might. As human influence continued to spread peacefully throughout the stars, other species began to understand what made humans unique. It wasn't their technology or their fighting ability. It was their endless capacity to imagine things differently, to question established ways, and to bring others along with them into new possibilities. Earth's greatest export turned out to be perspective. Its greatest weapon was inspiration. And, with these tools, humans had transformed an interstellar war into an opportunity for growth and change that benefited everyone. They had won without fighting, simply by being human. The end.